Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Volleyball Podcast, talking UTRGV Vaqueros Football here in their inaugural season. My name is Brian Ramos.
And Ivan Palacios and Brian, man, what a game, what a homecoming weekend. Just your overall thoughts, man. We're 6-2 now. You secured at least 500 on the year. Just talk about your thoughts after that homecoming week, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. First homecoming game in program history, first homecoming dub in program history as the Vaqueros beat the defending Southland Conference champion Incarnate Word 56 to 28 this past Saturday in week 9 at Robert and Janet Backer Stadium. 5-0 at home, Ivan, fifth straight sellout. It's just been crazy. I think at the beginning of the year, when if you would have asked me, I think I told a few people, I was like, yo, six and six would be a good year. You know what I mean? First year program, 6-6 would be like that's a great season for a first year program. And the Vaqueros have won 6 games with 4 games left to play, a month left in the regular season, and they ain't done yet, man. They're hoping to add some more wins to that in that win column, man. So yeah, Ivan, just your thoughts on the Vaqueros, man. I mean, to defeat the defending Southland Conference champions at home. I know Incarnate Word isn't having the season that they've had, but I mean, hey, this Incarnate Word team won 3 out of the last 4 Southland Conference titles here, and they've been basically the dominant team in the class of the Southland. So, Ivan, just your thoughts on what this win does and what it says about the UTRGV Vaqueros here in year one.
Yeah, I think it just says this program's further along than what most people expected. Yeah, like you mentioned, the team, the UIW isn't as good as it's been in years past, but it's still UIW. They're established for a reason. I mean, they've won 3 of the last 4 conference titles for a reason, and not whether they're 0-7 or 0-8, people would still expect them to be a brand new program. But I think this just speaks more volumes to the progress UTRGV has made in year one. I mean, shout out to Coach Bush and that staff. I mean, they really it's been years in the making, man. So to see it all come to fruition and see their work pay off and kind of, I think ahead of schedule than most people would expect. I mean, some people expected 0-12 year one, to be honest. So it just shows that they're ahead of schedule, and it just kind of a nod to Coach Bush and the staff, not just Coach Bush, but everyone behind the scenes, kind of there working and making this happen. Just a testament to the work they've put in these past couple of years to make this program not just a program, but a successful program here in year one.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, man. I mean, they're just doing amazing things here in year one. I mean, to defeat the defending Southland Conference champs at home, that's definitely a statement. Um, sending a statement to the rest of the league that hey, UTRGV football is here and UTRGV football is here to stay and doing some good things here in year one. As you said, all credit to the coaching staff and Coach Bush and the way he built this thing up. And for the Vaqueros, man, I mean, we'll get into uh, breaking down their win over Incarnate Word in just a second. But Ivan, I mean, they've been receiving votes for a while now in the American Football Coaches Association FCS football poll, and now it's a top 25. UTRGV is right on the verge of breaking into the top 25. They're the first team receiving the most points outside of the top 25, right behind number 25, Abilene Christian, who's receiving 36 points in the poll. UTRGV receiving 25 points this season. So, hey, man, the Vaqueros are right there. And if you would have told me at the beginning of the season, UTRGV would not just be in the top 25 conversation, but in the FCS playoff conversation, I'd have been like, wow, man, I mean, that's a dream season. You know what I mean? And here they are with 4 games left to play, and they're right there. So just, yeah, pretty remarkable for the Vaqueros, man. And then Ivan, I mean, we had some big performances go down this past week. Um, we'll break down those performances in just a second, but Eddie Lee Marburger, Southland Conference Player of the Week. Tony Diaz, Southland Conference honorable mention freshman of the week. Just your thoughts on seeing the Vaqueros earn some national recognition in those polls, in those awards, as they continue to do good things this season.
Again, it's just a testament to this program and what Coach Bush has put together. And we talked about it last week. We said this might be the week that the offense gets to bounce back. They're at home. This UIW defense was struggling, and sure enough, I mean, they showed up in a big way. I mean, 200-yard receivers. You mentioned Tony Diaz. I mean, 17 catches, I think he had. I mean, that one-handed one in the end zone for the touchdown too, and just Edelie Marburg, man, a seasoned vet. I mean, he struggled the past couple weeks, but he comes back. I mean, 440 passing yards. 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he rushed for one too, man. Just an all-out dominant performance, and I think it just adds brings them more of a spotlight to UTRGV because before you'd see those numbers like, oh, okay, they did it against a NAIA program. Hey, this is UIW we're talking about, man. 440 yards, whether they're 2-6, whatever their record was, that's 440 yards on an established D1 program, man. I mean, just impressive showing, and it just brings more attention. Like, hey, we don't just put up numbers against these small schools. We can do it whether we're playing a conference opponent or whoever's lined up against us, we can give it to them.
Yeah, I mean, UTRGV, man, they come out and just very impressive against Incarnate Word. I mean, as you said, I mean, a week prior, they went on the road and played Lamar, their first ever game against a ranked opponent, and I mean, lost on a last minute field goal. It took a 57-yard kick to knock off UTRGV. But in that game against Lamar, the Vaqueros had 189 yards of total offense. This week against Incarnate Word, 548 yards of total offense. And Coach Bush had talked about, hey man, during last week of practice, it's about starting fast, and we can't have a slow start against these good teams because you can't just be playing and trying to climb out of a hole. And then the Vaqueros come and drop 35 points in 30 minutes to take a 35-0 lead into the locker room at the half. And then Incarnate Word answers back, man, three straight touchdowns to start the second half to make it a 35-21 game. But just when that happened, Tony Diaz goes to work with a big catch. Xavier Nolan gets him in the red zone at the 3-yard line. And then, as you said, Ivan, Tony Diaz had that smooth one-handed grab in the left corner of the end zone on a goal line fade. It was a tremendous play that allowed UTRGV to answer Incarnate Word's run. Because I mean, in a football game, I mean, hey, it's a 60-minute game. You're gonna face some adversity at some point. Things aren't always going to go your way. UTRGV did see things momentum start to build for Incarnate Word, and the Vaqueros were there to answer with Tony Diaz's touchdown, with a 75-yard bomb to Xavier Nolan, and then Ivan, a big man touchdown. Harlingen alum Nathan Huerta gets the strip sack, and defensive lineman Jaden House is there for the 35-yard scoop and score, the first big man touchdown in program history that puts UTRGV up 56-28 in the fourth quarter against Incarnate Word. As the Vaqueros, man, I mean, to put it plainly, Ivan, I mean, yeah, there was that third quarter where they didn't play as well, but I mean, for what, 45 minutes, the Vaqueros dominated Incarnate Word, man. I mean, 35-0 at half, and they just played as good as you can there in the first half, and then third quarter kind of took a step back a little bit, but they finished strong, just as you'd like to see, man. Your thoughts on the Vaqueros win and how they put those pieces together to bounce back after last week's kind of heartbreaker against Lamar?
Yeah, you could easily lay down, call it a season after last week. I mean, it's demoralizing to see your 57-yard field goal ended, but instead these guys bounce back. We mentioned the offense. I mean, they bounced back in a huge way. I mean, over 500 total yards of offense, just impressive after going less than 200 a week ago. And I think it's something that UTRGV need, and it's also that home cooking, man. I mean, 5-0 at home. Hey, you want to play every game at home at this rate, but hey, you got to carry that momentum now going forward. It's impressive, and also just being able to bounce back when UIW is trying to start to crawl back into that 3 straight touchdowns. It could be a momentum shifter where balls start bouncing not your way. Instead, UTRGV shows that poise. Eddie Lee Marburger, Tony Diaz, Xavier Nolan, some big time plays down, and of course you mentioned it, that big man touchdown to kind of wrap things up. Just I'm impressed by their poise, man. It was the same thing we saw last week against what's it called? Lamar. They were able to climb out of that hole. Unfortunately, it didn't end in their favor, but you see that poise, that veteran leadership from these guys that are stepping up at the right times. And, this week it results in a win. And it's just impressive to see, especially with a team that's in year one of their program history.
Yeah, and you kind of we touched on some of the stat lines that these guys had earlier, but yeah, this is the response you wanted to see. It's gut check moment. I mean, sure, they lost on the road last week. They could have hung their heads into this week, but they didn't, man. This group is driven and they're motivated, and man, they bounce back in a big way to defeat Incarnate Word. Eddie Lee Marburger, 440 yards, 6 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown on the ground. Nathan Denny, who It's in his second game back after missing some time due to a hand injury. Um, he has 64 yards rushing, 45 yards receiving, so over 100 all-purpose yards and a touchdown in the win. And then receiving wise, we touched on Nate Denny's touchdown, Tony Diaz's one-handed grab, Xavier Nolan goes four catches, 155 yards, and two touchdowns, including that 75-yarder. And then Ismail Smith Flores catches two touchdowns on National Tight Ends Day Eve, right? Because it was Sunday. It was a Saturday night, and he kicked the game off with two touchdowns. So yeah, the Vaqueros offense, man. I mean, shoot, man, they got playmakers aplenty all over the field, and they went to work there against Incarnate Word, and then defensively, man, they forced another fumble, and Jaden House is there to recover. Elijah Graham comes up with a pick, his third pick of the season. He's now had five takeaways with three interceptions and two fumble recoveries this year. So shout out Elijah Graham making that happen. And then, yeah, man, it's just a really impressive performance by the Vaqueros. Three sacks as a team in this one. But yeah, I mean, shoot, you wanted to come out and prove that you can hang in the Southland. And yeah, you beat Houston Christian a couple weeks ago. Well, now how about the defending Southland Conference champs? You know what I mean? And yeah, so just a really impressive win by the Vaqueros here in week 9 as they pick up a 56-28 win over Incarnate Word to improve to 6-2 overall in their inaugural season and improve to 2-2 in Southland Conference play, which puts them in a tie for fourth place there. I mean, there's three 4-0 teams at the top. It's Lamar, it's Southeastern Louisiana, who UTRGV has already played this season, and then it's UTRGV's next opponent, Stephen F. Austin, which we'll get into breaking down in just a second. So, yeah, I mean, here we are, the Vaqueros, big win over Incarnate Word. Now let's look ahead to their Week 10 matchup against a really good Stephen F. Austin team that's ranked number 23 in the FCS coming into Week 10 in the matchup against UTRGV. And this game scheduled for 6 p.m. Saturday in Nacogdoches, Ivan. So just your thoughts on this matchup for UTRGV as they face what's now going to be their third ranked opponent in Southland Conference play after facing SLU and Lamar last couple weeks ago. Now here comes Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, no, the coaches break up their season into quarters, like we said. This is the third quarter right now, and we figured this was going to be their toughest stretch. You had the defending conference champ UIW, got Lamar, and now who was ranked 18, and now Stephen F. Austin ranked number 23. So it's going to be a tough outing for UTRGV. I think this team's honestly a little tougher than Lamar. Their offense is really dominant. Their defense is probably their calling card there. I mean, it's not going to be a walk in the park by any means. Then you got to go on the road against these guys. I mean, they're really good for a reason. They've won six straight, 4-0 in conference play. I mean, the only losses were to University of Houston, and then you got Abilene Christian, who's sitting right on top of UTRGV in that poll. If you're not, if I think you said,
Yep.
so tough test there for sure. I mean, offensively, let's talk about some of these guys, man. I mean, quarterback, how do you say his name again?
Yeah, yeah. Sam Vidlak. Yeah.
Sam Vidlak, there you go. I mean, he's been a stud there, 1,600 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, and I think University of Montana transfer you
Mhm.
had mentioned, and then offense. I mean, but they have a really balanced offense if you're looking at their numbers. I mean, they got Gerald Wimbley with 639 rushing yards, and receiving they got a guy with over 500, almost 550 yards in Kylan Harris. So offensively, they got the guys that can put up points. They're averaging almost 31 points a game, and like I mentioned, six straight wins for a reason, and they're not close wins either. They've been blowing teams by at least two touchdowns here. 63-0 against Sul Ross State, 35-17 against Cal Poly, and then most recently they beat East Texas A&M 31-21. So this team is clicking at the right time. They've scored over 30 points in their six straight games now. So it's going to be a tough outing for UTRGV. But I mean, we mentioned the defense, Brian. What can you tell us about this defensive unit, which I mean leads the conference, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, they're the number one defense in the conference in terms of yards allowed, total yards allowed, and points per game. So they're scoring 31 points a game, giving up just 16.7. And then defensively, I mean, shoot, man, they got the number one rushing defense for sure. 69.1. They're holding opponents to 69.1 rushing yards per game, and then passing, they're holding opponents to under 200 yards per game at 197.1. And we know how pass happy offenses are nowadays in today's game of football. And so to hold teams to under 200 yards of passing, that's pretty dang impressive, man. And yeah, so this defense, man. I mean, they're led by a few playmakers defensively. Jaden Southard, he leads them with 84 tackles, 7.5 tackles for a loss on the year, and then Malachi Williams comes in second on the team in tackles with 63 stops and 4 tackles for a loss there. Um, for Stephen F. Austin, and they got talent on the D line, on the second level of the linebacker position, and of course on the back line in the secondary, man. So Stephen F. Austin, man, they're a sound group. They got some good guys, and Coach Bush said, "Hey, man, these guys even got some guys that could be playing on Sundays next year or in the next couple of years because they got some really talented long cornerbacks that can play that prototypical size that you see now in the NFL to match up on those tall receivers. So it'll be interesting to see how the Vaqueros can fare against these guys. Um, I think it's going to be Coach Bush called them after because he when you break down tape or whatever. I mean, they haven't broken down Stephen F. Austin prior to this week, right? But you've seen Stephen F. Austin against the other teams that who you've broken down film for, right? Incarnate Word. Who else? They've also played Sul State, so those are similar opponents who Stephen F. Austin has played. So UTRGV before this week was able to see Stephen F. Austin, and Coach Bush said, "Hey, we got to see him a little bit. We think they might be the best team here." And then this week, today during his press conference on Tuesday, he said, after watching them on film this week and focusing on them, not watching the other team that they're playing against, this is what he calls the best team in the Southland. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, man. And he also said that's the next first for this group. The Vaqueros, they've won the road game. They went to Prairie View A&M, who's 6-2, by the way, at this point. So shout out to Prairie View, the Panthers, for holding it down. But the UTRGV has a road win over Prairie View A&M, but they're 0-2 on the road in Southland Conference play against Southeastern Louisiana and against Lamar. So the next first for UTRGV and Coach Bush and these guys that they talk about is winning that first conference game on the road. And then, of course, you'll get the opportunity to do it against a ranked opponent. So, yeah, Ivan, just your thoughts on the opportunity that UTRGV has. I mean, we talked about UTRGV on the verge of that top 25. Stephen F. Austin is inside that top 25. So, just your thoughts on what this matchup will mean for UTRGV and what they got to do to come out and have a good performance against a really good Stephen F. Austin team.
Yeah, and I think you got to build off that momentum, that offensive momentum you had against UIW. I mean, over 500 total yards. Can you bring that in on the road now against a very tough Stephen F. Austin defense? And you got to start fast. We mention it every week, and we've seen him start slow. Last week, we got to see him start fast. It's a lot easier to play when you're ahead 35-0 than trailing and trying to come back, you know. So play a little more comfortably that even when UIW crawled back into it, you were able to kind of, you had a little cushion, you know. So you got to start fast like that. Maybe 35-0 won't happen, but hey, build yourself a touchdown, 2 touchdown lead early, and you put yourself in a good position there. And I think it's a huge opportunity for UTRGV. We've talked about it already. They're on the door right there. They can kick this door down and put themselves in the top 25 in their first season with a win here on the road against Stephen F. Austin. And not only that, I mean, you possibly looking at a playoff spot if you can beat this Stephen F. Austin team. And I mean, you got 3 opponents left after this, and a win here pretty much. I don't want to say guarantees a spot, but if you can run the table down the stretch, you're in the playoffs more than likely in year one. So it's a huge opportunity for a lot of firsts, really, a lot of firsts. The first win over a ranked opponent, first road win over a conference opponent, and just your first chance to get into that top 25 poll. But I mean, it's all going to start with, I think, we've seen how good the defense can play, but can this offense match them on the road where they've really struggled, these past couple weeks in Southland play?
Yeah, they're gonna have to find some juice early against Prairie View A&M. They got off to a good start on the road there in week two, and then Southeastern Louisiana fell in a hole against Lamar, fell in a hole and had to climb out of it against Lamar. They did a better job of climbing out of it and took the lead there in the fourth quarter, had them on the ropes. But yeah, this is what an opportunity for the Vaqueros here in year one. I mean, their inaugural season, 6-2 overall, facing the 6-2 Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks, who I mean, shoot, man. I mean, it's a ranked team. This is when you talk to Eddie Lee Marburger in post game on Saturday, and after the win against UIW, and he said, "These are the games that you remember." You know what I mean? These are the you're not fearful of playing against a good opponent. These are the games you want. These are the games you sign up for when you imagine playing college ball. You want to play the big games. You want to play the good teams, and you want to perform well against them. And UTRGV has the opportunity to do that. I know they feel they let one slip away against Lamar, so they're going to be looking to make up for that one and bring home their first Southland Conference win on the road. And before we wrap up here, as I mentioned earlier, Stephen F. Austin does have a couple similar opponents as the UTRGV. They also played Sul Ross State in non-conference play, beat Sul Ross State 63-0. UTRGV beat them 66-0. So I mean, really similar result there. And then just a few weeks ago, um, Stephen F. Austin defeated Incarnate Word 31-17. So this Vaqueros team that just beat the Incarnate Word 56-28, Stephen F. Austin beat them 31-17. So you never like to say, oh, this is football math, and this is what they did against them, and this is how they're going to play against them. It's like, hey, it's college football. You got to put your head in the dirt. You got to line up. It's any given Saturday. You got 60 minutes to make something happen, and the Vaqueros will be looking to do that here as they take on Stephen F. Austin on the road, 6 p.m. Saturday, ESPN Plus, as the Vaqueros look to go 7-2 overall in their inaugural season. So, Ivan, I mean, before we say goodbye and wrap up this breakdown and preview of UTRGV's upcoming game against Stephen F. Austin, Ivan, we got a month left in the college football regular season, potentially more if UTRGV qualifies for the postseason, which is crazy insane itself. UTRGV year one in that postseason picture, you know what I mean? So, Ivan, just your thoughts on the Vaqueros and that the just what they've done here in year one and now entering the final stretch of the season. I mean, we've seen these guys every week. So, what do you think it's going to take for the Vaqueros to finish strong? And I mean, they're already at 500 at worst. You know what I mean? So, what do the Vaqueros need to do to stack some more wins and potentially put themselves in that top 25 in that playoff picture when it's all said and done at the end of the regular season?
You know, you can't really take away from what they've done. I don't think many expected us to be 6-2 at this point in the season. But I mean, it's going to take a big performance for the Saturday. I mean, Stephen F. Austin, like we mentioned, that they're going to be their toughest test. Coach Bush said it himself, like you said, he's the best team in the Southland Conference, and you know you can play spoiler to their season here, you know, but take away that conference title from them. It'll put them a game behind these other teams, but you know, you can always still just take a huge step for the program here and set the bar high for the future there. But I mean, regardless of what happens, you got to just come away impressed with this UTRGV team and what Coach Bush has done there. I mean, 6-2 through 8 games, possibly finishing, you know, over 500. All you need is one more win in the last 4 games, and just I think more than people expected in year one. And so you just got to come away impressed and just you know it's something good to build on, regardless of what happens, whether there's playoffs or not. Obviously, we're all rooting for these playoffs. We're rooting for these Vaqueros this weekend, and we want those playoffs in year one. It's going to set the bar far higher for the next year, where people want us to beat Bama for sure. So, but you know, hey, to all the haters, to everyone, UTRGV is doing their thing, and they're going to keep doing their thing, and we're just excited to grow with this program and continue to see it grow. And just what happens from here is, you know, the Valley's going to keep rallying. That's the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What are people going to say now? You know what I mean? Like they find every excuse. People saying they're going to go 0-10 and not even knowing how many games they play in a season. And now here we are. They beat this team. They discredit it. They find a reason to discredit the win and take away
Yep.
from them. They beat this team, then they find a way to. Well, I mean, hey man, you can only do that for so long, man. The Vaqueros are proven they're for real, man. They're a legit college football team here in year one. They're not no pushover. They ain't no chumps. You know what I mean? They bring it, man. And these guys, man, I just think we know how Texas high school football here is in the Valley. Bunch of kids down here, teams down here, coaches down here play and coach with a chip on their shoulder, right? And so when UTRGV comes and makes this first year team in the Rio Grande Valley, down in deep South Texas, where people have never heard about, they only see it on the news on, you know what I mean, on CNN and Fox News saying, painting it to be the most fearful place in the United States. But really, man, I mean, we got a gem down here in the Rio Grande Valley, and now we got D1 college football down here. And these guys and these coaches that came down here and decided to take a chance on themselves and say, hey, you know what, we can do something good here. Because the Vaqueros, man, they got a bunch of guys that were counted out, looked over, passed over, and you know what I mean, not taken seriously, not given a shot. And now here they are. They chose to bet on themselves and come here and build something new, build something fresh at the UTRGV here in their inaugural season. And now they're reaping the rewards. And they ain't done yet, man. A month left in the season for them to keep on doing so, keep on putting the college football world on notice that UTRGV football is here and they're the real deal. So, man, it's just been awesome, man. And I know from talking to Coach Bush today, um, he said some of the guys were fired up about that win over Incarnate Word because I mean this UTRGV team they got it's like over well it's got to be over 75% of players from Texas from the state of Texas. Several guys from the San Antonio area who never even got a look from Incarnate Word. You know what I mean? To go be on their team, to go to get an offer, or even as a preferred walk on, or no scholarship offers, nothing like that. They didn't get a look from Incarnate Word, and so some of these guys, man, these UTRGV guys, they play with a chip on their shoulder, just like the Valley has, man, and they're embracing it, man. These guys are all Valley boys. They're loving it, and they're loving making program history in year one. And they ain't done yet. They look to continue doing it. Got a month left in the season. Two more road games, two more home games for the Vaqueros. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to it, man. It's been awesome. I'm kind of sad. There's only a month left, man, but it's flown by. But man, the Vaqueros, they start the last four games of their inaugural season this Saturday, 6 p.m. on the road against number 23 Stephen F. Austin. The Vaqueros will look to take them down and break into the top 25. So with that said, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Volleyball Podcast talking UTRGV Vaqueros football. You can catch all our coverage at rgvsports.com. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, and of course on YouTube. You can catch everything, highlights, pregame, postgame, features, and everything like that at rgvsports.com. So once again, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Volleyball. We'll catch you next time.